Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from, and we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country. It's so bad, and people are coming in with disease. People are coming in with every possible thing that you can have.
This is what Donald Trump has said about immigrants in the United States. Thus, we flash back.
As we've heard this morning, America's farms are presently far too dependent on immigrant labor to pick our fruits and vegetables. Now, the obvious answer is for all of us to stop eating fruits and vegetables. And if you look at the recent obesity statistics, you'll see that many Americans have already started.
To when Stephen Colbert ruthlessly trolled the Trumps, the Steve Kings, and the Ron DeSantises of the world in his congressional testimony on how the United States cannot afford to fuck around on the subject.
We have people coming into the country, or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before.
Poisoning the blood. Animals. The intentional, disrespectful rhetoric Trump uses is a playbook of white supremacy when it comes down to it.
So we do not want immigrants doing this labor. And I agree with Congressman King, we must secure our borders. Of course, I'm sure Arturo Rodriguez is saying, who then would pick our crops, Stephen? First of all, Arturo, don't interrupt me when I'm talking. That's rude. Second, I reject this idea that farm work is among the semi-mythical jobs that Americans won't do. Really? No Americans. I did. As part of my ongoing series, Stephen Colbert's Fallback Position, where I try other jobs and realize that mine is way better. I participated in the UFW's Take Our Jobs campaign, one of only 16 people in America to take up the challenge. Though that number may increase in the near future, as I understand, many Democrats may be looking for work come November.
This congressional testimony has aged like a fine wine, with the aid of conservative lawmakers, aides, and fans pushing anti-immigrant, pro-white policies. The fact is, we need migrants more than ever.
The first and most urgent action when we win will be the sealing of the border, stopping the invasion, drill, baby, drill. Send Joe Biden's illegal aliens back home. We'll do all of those things, and we're going to have to do them fast because no country can sustain what's happening in our country. It's called the migrant crime, and it's far more deadly than anybody thought. It's migrant crime. It's a new category of crime because we have millions and millions of people, and they came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums. No, they're not the same thing. An insane asylum is a mental institution on steroids. They're all being deposited into our country, and then you have terrorists, and then you have drugs, and then you have human traffickers, and they're coming over at levels never seen before.
This sort of language puts a target on the backs of migrants who come here for a better life. Painting such a broad brush is dangerous, but represents the America Trump envisions, with him serving as ruler.
Now, I'll admit, I started my workday with preconceived notions of migrant labor. But after working with these men and women, picking beans, packing corn, for hours on end, side by side, in the unforgiving sun, I have to say, and I do mean this sincerely, please don't make me do this again. It is really, really hard. For one thing, when you're picking beans, you have to spend all day bending over. It turns out, and I did not know this, most soil is at ground level. If we can put a man on the moon, why can't we make the earth waist high? Come on, where is the funding? This brief experience gave me some small understanding of why so few Americans are clamoring to begin an exciting career as seasonal migrant field worker.
It's true, though Donald Trump would say otherwise.
And I will tell you, the biggest threat to your unions is millions of people coming across the border, because you're not going to have your jobs anymore. even that good-looking, strong guy with those beautiful muscles, he's not going to have his job because they'll have somebody else take it for 1/3 the price and, et cetera, et cetera. You're not going to, right? Look, he's agreeing. Don't laugh. He's laughing. Don't laugh. I mean, we got to be serious here. The truth is, when you have millions of people coming in, they're going to take your jobs. They're going to take the Teamster job.
From Trump, Kerry Lake, and others using invasion and taking jobs. Sadly, their diatribes are not based in reality, but the foresight of harvesting racist voters to give them a nod at the ballot box.
So what's the answer? I'm a free market guy. Normally, I would leave this to the invisible hand of the market, but the invisible hand of the market has already moved over 84,000 acres of production and over 22,000 farm jobs to Mexico, and shut down over 1 million acres of U.S. farmland due to lack of available labor. Because apparently, even the invisible hand doesn't want to pick beans.
True. Because we saw this in Florida. Under Trump wannabe, the state's governor, Ron DeSantis.
The state's Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, signed the bill in May, just weeks before he announced his run for president. The law bans local governments from issuing ID cards to people who cannot prove citizenship. It requires hospitals that accept Medicaid funds to ask about a patient's citizenship status. It also increases penalties for people who hire or transport undocumented immigrants. And it expands the use of E-Verify, a federal database employers can use to check a worker's immigration status.
Florida's strict new immigration law, courtesy of Ron DeSantis, just may backfire, driving away the very people the state relies upon for its agricultural backbone. The Wall Street Journal reports that just days after the law went into effect, agricultural and construction businesses are already experiencing a labor shortage.
This is what you see all over Florida. See? This is what's happening. So, there you go, Mr. Ron Disaster. This is what you get. Lots of watermelon thrown away right here from the fields. This is related to the immigration bill passed by the governor of Florida because there's not enough people to work and to process all this.
Because the fact is, as much as we hear they're taking our jobs from the conservatives in this country, it's all smoke and mirrors. As none of those shouting from the rooftops dare take these jobs.
They are being released by the tens of thousands into our communities with no regard for the impact on public safety or resources.
It's their North Star, their blueprint, their racist dog whistle. And unless we vow to band together, these inhumane voters will get their way.
Now, I'm not a fan of the government doing anything. But I've got to ask, why isn't the government doing anything? Maybe this ag jobs bill would help. I don't know. Like most members of Congress, I haven't read it. But maybe we could offer more visas to the immigrants who, let's face it, will probably be doing these jobs anyway. And this improved legal status might allow immigrants recourse if they're abused. And it just stands to reason to me that if your coworker can't be exploited, then you're less likely to be exploited yourself. And that itself might improve pay and working conditions on these farms, and eventually Americans may consider taking these jobs again. Or maybe that's crazy. Maybe the easier answer is just to have scientists develop vegetables that pick themselves. The genetic engineers over at Fruit of the Loom have made great strides in human fruit hybrids. The point is we have to do something because I am not going back out there. At this point, I break into a cold sweat at the side of a salad bar.
At the end of his testimony, Colbert would get serious.
I like talking about people who don't have any power. And this seems like one of the least powerful people in the United States are migrant workers who come and do our work, but don't have any rights as a result. And yet we still invite them to come here, and at the same time ask them to leave. And that's an interesting contradiction to me. And whatsoever you do for the least of my brothers, and these seem like the least of our brothers right now. A lot of people are least brothers right now because the economy is so hard, and I don't want to take anyone's hardship away from them or diminish anything like that. But migrant workers suffer and have no rights.
The research on the subject shows how out of touch Republicans are with reality. From the Pew, Americans generally agree that immigrants, whether undocumented or living legally in the country, mostly do not work in jobs that U.S. citizens want, with the majority saying so across racial and ethnic groups and among both political parties. This is particularly true when it comes to undocumented immigrants. About 3/4 of adults, 77%, say undocumented immigrants mostly fill jobs U.S. citizens do not want, while 21% say undocumented immigrants fill jobs U.S. citizens would like to have. Additionally, they report Hispanics, 88%, are most likely to say undocumented immigrants mostly fill jobs U.S. citizens do not want, with more Hispanic immigrants than U.S.-born Hispanics saying so. By comparison, similar shares of white and black adults say the same. Funny enough, all we heard in a pre, during, and post-COVID world was the term labor shortage. Meanwhile, Giovanni Perry, the author of the UC Davis Research and director of the Global Migration Center, told CNN part of the reason why there are so many vacancies and unfilled jobs in the U.S. is that we are missing a whole lot of immigrants who regularly were coming before COVID. The outlet wrote, the decrease in legal immigration over the last 2 years has hurt American businesses, especially in industries that require lower skilled labor, construction, agriculture, and hospitality. The lack of available workers has pushed wages higher, fueling higher inflation. This piece was published in December of 2022. The Post's write-up in February 2024 would read as such: immigration has propelled the U.S. job market further than just about anyone expected, helping cement the country's economic rebound from the pandemic as the most robust in the world. The writers Rachel Siegel, Lauren Kaori-Gurley, and Merrill Cornfield added that momentum picked up aggressively over the past year. About 50% of the labor market's extraordinary recent growth came from foreign-born workers between January 2023 and January 2024, according to an Economic Policy Institute analysis of federal data. The key factor lies in what nearly every politician is driven by: money. Fresh estimates from the Congressional Budget Office this month said the U.S. labor force will have grown by 5.2 million people in 2033, thanks especially to net immigration. The economy is projected to grow by $7 trillion more over the next decade than it would have without new influxes of immigrants, according to the CBO. Hey everyone. If there are any stories that you want to bring to our attention, whether it is the local level, collegiate level, professional level, national level, that you think would be worthy of a story and us covering, there are so many hours in a day and only so much we see. Submit them to me. Get at me on Twitter, on Instagram, and TikTok. Send me a DM, send me a tweet, what have you. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great day.
Now, we all know there is a long tradition of great nations importing foreign workers to do their farm work. After all, it was the ancient Israelites who built the first food pyramids. But this is America. I don't want a tomato picked by a Mexican. I want it picked by an American, then sliced by a Guatemalan and served by a Venezuelan in a spa where a Chilean gives me a Brazilian. Because my great-grandfather did not travel across 4,000 miles of the Atlantic Ocean to see this country overrun by immigrants. He did it because he killed a man back in Ireland. That's the rumor. I don't know if that's true. I'd like to have that stricken from the record.